Joining us now, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Secretary, good to have you with us. What do you make of what the senator had to say about the fact that the Biden-Harris administration has been full-throated and unequivocal in supporting Israel?
Well, good morning, Shannon. Look, Senator Coons is a nice man, but he's just living in a fantasy world. The most important people who make the determination about whether America is providing enough support, frankly, are the Iranians, Hamas, and Hezbollah. And they have felt free to fire missiles into Israel, kill 1,200 Israelis, continuing to hold Americans hostage. We don't even talk about that anymore. They're still hostages held by the Iranian regime in Gaza today. Instead of talking about a ceasefire, which is what Secretary Austin spoke about, what Secretary Blinken speaks about, we should be saying plain and clear, finish the job. Nasrallah would be alive today if the Biden administration ceasefire had gone into effect. The entire Hezbollah leadership would be alive today if the Israelis had agreed to the ceasefire that Hamas had demanded and that the Iranians had demanded and the United States had supported. Make no mistake about it. We know history. We know the history from 1967. We know the history from 1973. There is only one thing that will protect Israel and make the Middle East more prosperous and peaceful, and that is the demonstration of power and imposing costs on Israel's adversaries.
Okay, so there were reports in Axios earlier this week that Hezbollah had asked Iran to directly strike Israel. They didn't want to do that because their president was here speaking at the UN in the U.S. Well, now there are questions about if Hezbollah is disabled, does Iran now move forward with that? There's a quote by Trita Parsi, the executive VP of the Quincy Institute here in Washington, talking about this, saying, if it becomes clear to Iran that Hezbollah actually cannot defend itself following the bombing in Beirut, then the Iranian justification for staying out of the war has collapsed. At that point, Iran's credibility with the rest of its partners in the axis of regional militant groups will risk collapsing if Tehran does not react. Do you worry about where this has pushed Iran to and what happens next?
Shannon, Trita Parsi's been an Iranian sympathizer for a long time. He works closely alongside some of the leaders inside of the country. The way to convince Iran to stay out of this conflict is to demonstrate that the Americans and the Israelis together can hold Iranian leadership to account, impose real costs on them. When they see the leadership of Hezbollah destroyed, when they see Hamas dismantled, when they see the United States prepared to actually support that, and they see our Gulf partners recognize that they too can trust the United States of America, that's how you keep Iran at bay. It's how you push back against what, frankly, the Biden-Harris administration has allowed, the continuation of the Iranian nuclear program to build. There's only one way. You have to put pressure on them. You have to deny them resources. You can't hand them billions of dollars and then tell the Israelis to stand down and have any prayer that not only will Israel do well, but we shouldn't forget this. Hezbollah and Nasrallah killed more Muslims than just about anybody else over the last decades. This is a regional challenge. It's one for the world. And the United States demanding that Israel stop when the task ahead of them is to finish the job is a mistake and only creates further risk of escalation.
Yeah, it seemed wise for Prime Minister Netanyahu to speak at the UN about the people of Iran, the people of Lebanon, the people who live in Gaza, and wanting to rescue them from their oppressors too, to your point. Secretary, thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.